Hello and welcome. In this video I'll be showing you how to use the digital entry display or DED and the autopilot in the SC Designs F-16 Fighting Falcon. So if we jump in the cockpit, now if we look down into our right hand side here, we have the DED in question. Now the thing to remember is that having a real digital entry display in here would require a lot of extra systems to be online, and that's essentially what it's for. In this, because of the limitations, it's not well, it is a digital entry display, but not in the sense of the real F-16. What it actually is a flight management computer. Now I'm going to show you what the real digital entry display looks like. Okay, so I've quickly jumped into DCS to show you what a proper digital entry display should look like. As you can see, it's a lot smaller, less cluttered, and the commands go from COM1 to list. These two just change the mode in which the aircraft is flying, whether you want to hunt for air targets or ground targets. COM1, simple enough, you just enter your frequency and enter and boom, sorted. And COM2, and then you can set your IFF up as well, and then you've got your list. So we've got various things like bingo fuel, your nav, data link, inertial navigation, countermeasures, and then there's also miscellaneous, so like laser codes, magnetic variations, GPS, helmet mounted sight, things like that. So go back into the list, we can go into bingo fuel, change that to 1,500 pounds, boom, and there we go, bingo fuel sorted. So I mean, things like that, you can see where they've got the inspiration to make it look like a digital entry display, but just having a flight management computer disguised as one is the best that can be done in flight sim at the moment. So I mean, like, we're in commands here, you can change it so that 5 chaff, go down to the dobber, go down, and 5 flares, enter that one. And if we come across, we can change the timings between each flare and chaff that's spat out, and program it to how we want it. And that, you know, is about as far as it goes. It's less, I'll be honest with you, it's less complicated in the real thing, i.e. DCS variant, than it is in the flight sim variant. Just simply because it's a flight management computer. I'm not used to using flight management computers because I don't do airliners, so that's where my confusion comes into play. But yeah, I just thought I'd jump into DCS and show you what a proper DED should look like, and yeah, so we'll get back into flight sim. So like I said before, yeah, it's just a flight management computer made to look like a DED. So I mean, it's still very capable, as anybody who's used a flight management computer will tell you, because you can control a whole flight from it. But yeah, I mean, that's about as far as it goes. I mean, it doesn't really do anything else, although it does work with some of the autopilot functions. And the reason I have labels on today, which is one thing I don't like using, is because purely the functions that these buttons do, unless you've got the actual labels on, you wouldn't know what they did. So we've got labels on for that. I'll be using the VFR map again, which I'm not a fan of, to show you flight plans, and yeah, just to get on from there really. So to start with, I mean, we've got the nav, as you can see it says radio nav, so that's under the nav function, and it's split into two. So we've got the left hand side, which is all your nav, com, ADF, VOR ones, and then on the right hand side we've got nav, VORs, ADFs, com, twos. So yeah, I mean, you can change the frequency. We're RF Lake and Heath. Their localizer frequency is 109.90. As you can see, it's been entered at the bottom there, and we're going to change the nav1 function there. So click that, and now 109.90 is now in the active nav1. So once we get up in the air, if we want localizer information, we can now bring that up. But I mean, as far as it goes, everything is comms frequencies, which you can do automatically on here. There's ADFs. If you're looking for ADFs, obviously you can input the same way. Just put in your 3-digit code and press the enter on the ADF1, which would be L4. Another thing is to note that these don't line up with each other, but they do have the corresponding number next to them. So there's 6 on this side, 6 on that side, so R1s and L1s. Go to menu. This is your direct to, so if you do have a flight plan, it will bring up all the information on here, and I'll show you that in a minute. SHF. Now you can actually create a flight plan, a basic simple flight plan. As far as I'm aware, I don't know if it can be any more complex than just straight from one place to another, as I don't know too much about flight management computers, flying only military aircraft. So if I show you the VFR map, you will see that I'm at Lake and Heath and I don't have a flight plan. But if we go here, and these keys are like the old school landline telephones and early mobile phones, where you'd have to press the button repeatedly to get the letter you want before going on to the next one. What we're going to do is we're going to do the ICAO code for Lake and Heath and ICAO code for Coningsby, and we're going to have to copy it, well, write it out in exactly the same format as what is there. So if we go to 3, as you can see, it shows you the letters that are also on the keypad. So if we press 3 times, we get an E. And what we're going to want to put in is EGUL. That one is 4 times. And then we're going to want the /. That will come under 0. So if we push that twice, we get our / there. And then we're going to want to put in the code for Coningsby, which is EGXC. So again, 3 there for E, 2 there for G, X comes under here, but for some reason W has been missed out in the labelling, so we will have to push that 3 times. So 1, 2, 3, and then up here for C 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now as you can see, we've written it out in exactly the same format as what is there, and we'll push R1, wait a minute, and as you can see, it's gone up into that corner there, and we've also now got a flight plan on the VFR map, which will take us straight to Coningsby. We can change a few other things like flight number, so I don't know, 01 for flight number L3. Now we've got flight number 01, cost index is the weight of the aircraft, usually between 100 and 400. We've got 60% fuel, so we're around about the 200, I'd say about 230 mark maybe. So 230 for the cost index for L5, and then our cruising altitude, and you will have to put it in as a 3-digit code. So flight level, and if you want you're travelling at 35,000 feet, that'll be flight level 350, or if you're flying at 5,000 feet, flight level 050. I think I've got that right. No, that's 50 feet. No, that is 5,000. So we'll put 15,000 feet in there for our cruising altitude. So 150. Press L6, and it will also tell us the temperature at that altitude. So there you go. That is setting up a basic flight plan from the init page. If we go back to the Direct 2, it will now show us our flight plan. We've only got the two parts of the flight plan. If we press that, we can erase it, or we can change things by pressing the R6. So yeah, that's init and data index. So another thing that you can do, but I'll bring that up in the next part of the tutorial, is you can actually go in and change takeoff and approach information on your flight plan. But as these are just basic RAF sceneries, there's no extra waypoints to go from. As you can see here in the left MFD, we have a green line, which is now our flight plan on that as well. So yeah, that's that. So what I'm going to do is going to reset now, and then I'm going to do the tutorial that's in the actual manual, just as I know that those airfields have the extras that I need to show you. So a quick cut. So I've entered the flight plan from the tutorial in the manual, which flies from Almeria in southern Spain to Baraja in Madrid, and we're doing this by VOR to VOR. And we're going to be making some changes to the flight plan using the DED or FMC in the F-16. So let's jump in the cockpit and we'll go from there. So as you can see by the VFR map next to me here, that the flight plan from Almeria to Baraja has been loaded into the flight management computer. Now what we're going to do is go in and tweak it slightly. So we are going to want to change our departure to a proper departure route. So what we're going to do is, I didn't show you previously, but this little magic data button here brings up your flight plan in the DED. As you can see, we've got Almeria, yes, decel, PDT, Baraja. That shows you all of that there. Now we want to change a few things. So we're going to change the departure route, pressing L1 for Almeria, press L1 again for departure. We're on runway 25, so we want runway 25 there. And we're going to choose Agid 1A, so L3. Agid 1A will appear here, and then we are going to insert it proper by using R6, and you'll see some changes will happen here. So we zoom in at Almeria, you can see that we fly runway heading out and then round to the flight plan rather than just straight to. So we've got a load of waypoints added, and you can scroll through your flight plan using the dobber, but we're not done there. We want to change our arrival into Baraja. So I'm going to click L6, L1 for arrivals. Now we're going to choose by scrolling down 32 Lima Whiskey, which is one here, so click L4, and we want to go into L2 to change the via, and we're going to choose Aspen L3. So Aspen has been added as the via, which you can see here. Now you can see L4 says no star. Well, we need to change that, so we're going to scroll down to Bain 2D, click L4, click L3 for Aspen, and now that has been added as a star. So if we scroll down, you can see Bain 2D there. We're going to insert that proper by pressing R6, and as you can see, a huge change there. We'll overfly PDT, and instead of going into Baraja, we'll go up all the way to Ban, and then down to our descending arrival route. Now we want to tweak that slightly. We want it so that we don't overfly PDT, we'll fly straight up to Ban. So we're going to go into this again, but what we're going to do is hold clear till clear shows up at the bottom, scroll down, and we're going to delete PDT. As you can see, PDT is there. You should have two, so if you're practicing this tutorial, scroll down just to make sure that you've got PDT 30, which was added when we made the tweak for the arrival. Scroll back up, and we want to get rid of PDT. So we've got clear there, click L1, PDT, disappear, and click R6, and there we go. Now we fly straight up to Bain EV, down to Ban, and then into our descent route into Baraja. So now that has been completely changed from the original flight plan, and that can all be done from the data, but it can only be done if the airports that are using have these departure routes and arrival routes. It wouldn't work with my Lakenheath and Coningsby, so that's why I went into, I could have done Stansted to Heathrow or something like that, but like I say, this isn't really for the military use, this is for civilian flying to and from major airports. So yeah, sorry about the brain fart there, the big pause, but we got there in the end. And also there's a couple of things that you can change as well. If we look into the bottom right hand corner here, and you see that our first waypoint altitude is 500 feet. If we press the managed altitude mode, that will now change it to 2100. Make sure you do that, because if you do end up flying with lateral nav and radio nav, you'll end up descending down to 500 feet, and you don't want that. So just be sure that you click the engaged managed speed mode, which is this button here, and that will alter everything in there. So yeah, that's the DED as far as I know it. I mean, I only know the basics, but to be fair, that's all you really need to know. I mean, if you're using civilian stuff, fair enough, you can go into it a lot more deeper, but just changing your departure routes and your arrival routes, and also deleting, I mean, I could go in and delete any waypoint just by holding clear until CLR appears at the bottom there, and then scrolling up or down with the dobber and just clicking the one I want to delete, and it will remove it from the flight plan. So yeah, that's the DED/FMC. So now from there I'm going to show you the autopilot. Right, so you join me flying across the English countryside at 1,000 feet doing 300 knots. Some of the autopilot has already been engaged by me, but we'll get into it anyway. So left hand side down here in the panel is your obvious autopilot panel with your master, altitude, heading, speed, approach and back course. Then you've got a tiny part 2 up here, which is you can hold the pitch and heading and things like that. And then you've got the buttons around the MFDs, which also function as part of the autopilot. But as I'm showing you these buttons around the MFDs, I thought I'd show you the whole of the buttons around the MFDs, not just the autopilot. So we'll start with the left hand side. And we'll start with the top. Up here's the yaw damper, not to be engaged below 6,000 feet and definitely not to be engaged on approach. Next to that we have the recenter CDI. As you can see, the course needle is not facing the same direction as we are going, so if we press the recenter CDI, bang, it's now pointing in the same direction as us. Instead of using these controls down here, we have a button here for the CDI and here for the heading bug. As you can see, the heading bug, this yellow dash line here, is not pointing in the direction that we're going. Push that, now it is, and now we can engage the heading and it will continue on this heading until we select a different way to go. Next to that we have the turning heading selector off, which I've done with the button down there, so it doesn't really matter, and engage manage heading mode. This is the range at which the map will be shown. If you hold the button down, scroll forwards and backwards, you'll see that I'm zooming out and zooming back in again. You can use the mouse scroll wheel as well. So that's your range in and out. This is your rad out reference. We'll increase the rad out reference. Next one is decrease, obviously, and that is the stop displaying ADF VOR information. These two buttons here, VOR at the bottom, click that, you get the VOR information, ADF one above it. If you want to get rid of that and declutter it, just push this button here and they're gone. This button, if you hold it down and slide forward and backwards with the mouse, it dims it. Nice and simple. On the other side, not sure what the select mode does. It doesn't really do anything. Set minimums for barometric altimeter, the barometric units. Stop displaying ADF2, VOR 2, everything again, VOR at the bottom, ADF above that, clear it. This one, set your radar mode, will change nothing by the looks of things. No, doesn't really do anything. At the bottom here, switch from nav to GPS on your autopilot or guidance. Next to that is turning on that lateral navigation. If you push that button and you've got stuff in your FMC, it will follow that information. Next to that, turn on VOR DME TACAN info. Basically clutters or declutters the screen. Next to that we've got the weather. If you've got weather at the bottom corner there, and this one will turn on terrain if it's available. So that just changes the background. I'm going to get onto this side quickly because we need to increase the altitude slightly. So speaking of altitude, you can increase your altitude, which changes this number at the top here. You click that in hundreds of units, so we're going to increase our altitude to 1,500. This one will turn the switch on and off to hold the altitude. This is your decrease and your selected altitude mode. This engages the manage speed mode. This flare turn on and off, basically if you hold the button, push it on and off, it will take the scenery away from the screen. This one will increase your airspeed on your auto throttle. This will turn the auto throttle off. This will decrease the speed in the auto throttle. That will disconnect it entirely. That will switch it from knots to Mach. Switch that back. You can change the brightness and the glare shield there. And across the bottom, that's your localizer mode for approach, on and off. I'll tell you up the top there. Again, approach mode, on and off. Back course mode. You can set your display heading to vertical speed mode, and that's your flight director button. So those are all your MFDs, and obviously I've clicked something that has caused my aircraft to follow something. Track. There we go. Okay, so we'll take... what have I clicked? Anyway, yeah, my aircraft decided to go off and do its own thing. So, yeah, those are the MFDs, which the buttons correspond to the autopilot or to the on the screen as is. So we turn autopilot master off, heading off, actually change that. Okay, so there we go. That is the DED and the autopilot and MFD tutorials. I hope that's helped you in some way. I mean, it's not the most in-depth tutorial, but at least it'll give you some basics to start off from. Anyway, yeah, I'll leave you in your capable hands to do whatever you want with. And as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for everybody who's recently written nice things on my videos. I appreciate it. It's nice to get something positive. And thank you for everybody who's subscribing. Yeah, I really do appreciate it. So with that, take care. I'll see you in the next one.